Hello and welcome to Omaha Mom Talks. I'm your host, Jessie Gutierrez. I'm a therapist, a mom, and now a podcast host. I'm so excited to kick off this journey with you. Omaha Mom Talks is all about creating community and connection. It's for moms here in Omaha, but honestly, it's for anybody who loves or supports a parent, because we all know that parenting doesn't come with a manual. But wouldn't it be great if it came with a bit of a community? Here at Omaha Mom Talks, we're all about creating authentic conversations to normalize conversations surrounding maternal mental health, what it's like to carry the mental load, and all the ups and downs of parenthood. My hope is that we can normalize these conversations so that individuals feel seen, supported, and heard in their journey and don't feel so alone. Before we dive in, I want to share that the information shared in this podcast is for educational purposes and is not to be substituted for professional counseling or for medical treatment. If you're feeling like you need support, please reach out to your local provider or a mental health therapist. Since this is our very first episode of Omaha Mom Talks, I want to share a little bit about who I am, my story, a little bit about my postpartum journey, and what you can expect with this podcast. So let's just start at the beginning here with my origin story. As I mentioned, my name is Jessie Gutierrez. I am a licensed therapist here in Omaha. I originally was born in sunny California. I was born to my parents, and I am the youngest of 3 children. I am Latina, but I am not yet bilingual. And when I was 4 years old, my family moved to the Midwest to a small town in Pawnee City, Nebraska, where I was raised with my parents and my 2 siblings. Both of my parents have passed away, and so it's just me and my siblings, and we stay really connected through time together with all of our kids and really find it valuable just for us to all connect. We lovingly call ourselves the 3 amigos. Let's see, I've been in Omaha now for 17 years, so I've called Omaha home for a long time. I live here with my husband, Drew. He is originally from Columbus, Nebraska, and we met at the University of Nebraska at Kearney, where we both went to school for undergrad. Together, we have 2 beautiful babes, 2 little girls, ages 3 and 6. They are both fiercely independent, curious about all the things. They're very funny, very witty, and they both challenge me every single day to show up as a better version of myself. Life is super busy with raising 2 kids, being married, home life, running my business as a mental health therapist, but I wouldn't have it any other way. So professionally, I am a mental health therapist. I run and operate my own private practice. I have a master's in clinical social work. I went to the University of Nebraska at Omaha for my master's in clinical social work, and I did my undergrad at UNK in social work as well. My credentials are I'm a licensed independent mental health therapist, LIMHP, and a licensed clinical social worker, LCSW. Since 2018, I've ran and operated my own mental health private practice here in Omaha, supporting individuals with issues related to anxiety, depression, trauma, childhood wounds, and specializing in perinatal mental health. My work is deeply influenced by modalities that I'm trained in, such as EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing therapy, which is a trauma support therapy, parts and ego state work, what many people may hear of inner child healing, and I integrate a lot of somatic experiencing practices into my work. I feel very fortunate to do the work that I do. I get to work with many individuals at different ages and stages of their healing journey, and I always feel truly lucky to work alongside such important, unique, resilient, mostly women. I do work with some men as well. And then I also have the pleasure of working with a few teens in the school systems, doing support groups on social skills, emotional coping, and self-esteem. Beyond the credentials, I'm just a mom and a human, like many of you, working to balance life, family responsibilities, home life, relationships, friendships, and just trying to always work on myself, evolve, and grow into the best version of myself. I want to share a little bit about my postpartum journey with you all and kind of how I came into this specialty of supporting moms in perinatal mental health. So in 2018, I gave birth to my first baby girl, and I thought I was pretty prepared. After all, I am a therapist. I read the research, I read the books. I felt super prepared. But little did I know how difficult that adjustment to motherhood and postpartum was going to be. I really feel like I got slapped in the face with postpartum, and it was a really difficult, sensitive period of time, as it is for so many women. I think I already had some anxious tendencies and was a bit of an overthinker or a worrier, but my postpartum period definitely intensified those anxious thoughts, those worries, where it was really impacting my daily, quality life. I had a deep love immediately for my baby. I adored her, but I found myself becoming really hyper-focused on any potential dangers and really making sure that I was doing things the right way. So I really struggled with my breastfeeding journey, as many women do. I think that we're often given this idea that breastfeeding is natural and maybe like easy or simple, but that couldn't have been farther from the truth with my breastfeeding experience and with a lot of moms that I support as well. When I was 18 years old, I actually had a breast reduction. And at that time, I was given the informed information that may impact my ability to breastfeed later on in life as they sever your milk ducts. But as an 18-year-old, I certainly didn't care about that and just wanted to move forward with the surgery. And so while I did have an idea that I may not be able to breastfeed, I certainly didn't anticipate the harshness that I would have on myself or the negative self-talk that I would have in my breastfeeding journey. So once baby was here and I really struggled with that breastfeeding journey, it definitely heightened my postpartum anxiety. I was agonizing over all the details of her feedings, how much she was getting, how many wet diapers she was having, how much sleep, things like that. And my anxiety really just went into overdrive. I just felt like I was constantly failing. I'll never forget the moment that my pediatrician gently suggested offering baby formula. I was still very newly postpartum and felt like that was giving up. I still really wanted to breastfeed her, but she was, baby was really fussy and not being able to be soothed. And so we tried formula and my baby just gobbled up that bottle so quickly. And in that moment, I felt a lot of things. I felt some relief that she was eating and that she was soothed, but I also felt this inner disappointment in myself. And was just beating myself up internally for that unnecessarily. I can see that now, but at the time it just felt like somehow I wasn't doing enough. My anxious thoughts had even told me that my husband was disappointed in me or that somehow he was secretly upset that I wasn't better at producing milk. I can see now how silly that is because, spoiler alert, he did not care at all. He just wanted a healthy baby and a healthy wife. And so I had met with 5 or 6 lactation consultants during my breastfeeding struggles, really trying to make it work. Eventually found a lactation consultant who I loved and was really supportive. And we eventually landed on combination feeding with a supplemental nursing system and SNS. For those of you who have had breastfeeding struggles, used an SNS, or done triple feeds, the amount of time and dedication and sometimes pain that comes along with it. It's a really big commitment, and it was a really hard journey. I also had some breast milk donors who I truly consider those individuals to be angels on earth who donated milk to my precious baby, and I'm so grateful for those milk donors. But we landed on a system that works for us, and really, ultimately, it's took me realizing that breastfeeding journey wasn't about my expectations or my goals, but really was about meeting the needs of my baby. When I returned to work at 3 months postpartum, as many moms in America return to work at 3 months postpartum, I really found that my postpartum anxiety intensified. I really loved working But I also really struggled with being separated from my baby. It just felt so unnatural and really caused me a lot, again, just overthinking, agonizing, and stress being away from her. So I knew that I was feeling this just push and pull between my work identity and who I was, but also this newfound role as an identity as a mom. So I was torn between both and trying to figure out what to do when my sister, who is also a mental health therapist, really encouraged me to open up my own private practice, which had always been a really long-term goal of mine. And I wasn't sure if now was the right time, as I was newly postpartum, still in the fog of everything. It felt very terrifying, but my sister really encouraged me to take a leap of faith and start my own private practice. And again, it was terrifying, but it really did give me the sense of balance and flexibility that I needed to balance my work that I love to do and balancing my needs of being a mother and taking care of home responsibilities. So it's not to say that being a business owner or in private practice doesn't come without challenges. There's been a lot of learning along the way. I often say that my graduate experiences really taught and prepped me to be an amazing clinician, but I really didn't gain any knowledge on how to run a business or how to be a practice owner. And so all of that has been learning that I've done on my own, oftentimes on the fly, and oftentimes based on making mistakes. Internally, though, I'm so grateful for taking a chance on myself and being able to now have my practice since 2018, as that baby that I had now is almost turning 7 years old. So my postpartum experience is a lot about why I'm so passionate about supporting other moms. I know how isolating and confusing that those postpartum, especially the early days, can be. Immediately after opening my private practice, I decided to enroll in an advanced clinical postpartum and perinatal mental health certification program through Postpartum Support International, where I was able to learn the resources and tools and research behind how to support moms through the perinatal mental health journey. So I really want to use this podcast as a space to talk about, have all these honest conversations about many of the common postpartum concerns that we see, and to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and also just that you're not alone in it, that you're not the first one to have these thoughts or these feelings, and that with help, you will be better. So now what to expect with Omaha Mom Talks in this podcast. Each episode, we are going to be tackling topics that are often maybe whispered about or talked about with the postpartum motherhood journey, but we're really going to just normalize those conversations, bring them to light, bring them to surface, along with tools and strategies on how to manage those things. So we'll be talking about everything from postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression, the weight of the mental load, sex and intimacy, identity shifts after having baby, how to deal with in-laws. We're going to be talking about it all. I'm going to be bringing in some local experts, other therapists and doctors who can offer insight, guidance, and wisdom to all of us. And just as importantly as we will be bringing in those experts, we're going to just be sharing real stories, real authentic stories from moms like you, like me, because there's just so much power in knowing that you're not in this alone. We'll also be sprinkling in some lighter topics. Let's face it, motherhood can be so hilarious sometimes. We know that our kids are funny, our kids are hilarious, they do goofy things, and we've all had those moments of laughing so hard that you're worried that you might pee your pants. And we're also going to be talking about that. I have plans to bring in a local pelvic floor therapist to talk about how we can support our pelvic floor after baby. And I really want to talk a lot about how we can honor ourselves outside of motherhood. A lot of the moms that I work with and support have a common theme of losing identity or a sense of self as they adjust to motherhood. And so I really want to talk about how we as moms can take care of ourselves and really focus on like who I am after baby. What do I love? What are my interests? What parts of me, the old me, are still there? What parts are evolving? What parts are growing and changing? And how can I decide what parts of me I want to show up today? So I want to talk a little bit about why I think these topics matter. I think that motherhood, I know in my own experience and from so many moms that I support, can often feel very, very isolating. I think that even when you're surrounded by your kids or your partner or your family, even your coworkers, you can be surrounded by people, but it can still feel like you're doing it all alone. I think that the expectations of parenthood are so high and there is so much comparison that it can be so easy to feel like you're failing, but you're not. And I want this podcast to be a reminder that you're doing enough. You're doing a great job. So whether you're listening to this podcast when you're folding laundry, you are doing a drop off to school, on your way to work, or just trying to take a 5-minute breather to yourself, I just hope that this podcast can feel like a big warm hug or a big deep breath and a reminder that you're doing enough. Here at Omaha Mom Talks, we're all about having honest conversations to support, connect, and uplift one another. So before we wrap up, I want to thank everybody for being here. This podcast and just chatting with other women about topics that I'm passionate about is such an honor. I feel, again, just very lucky for the work that I get to do, and I'm so grateful to have you on this journey with me. If you've enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast. It helps other moms find us. If you have any other topics that you would like to talk about, questions about postpartum or motherhood, reach out to me. You can find me on Instagram at @JessieGutierrez_. You can send me a message, ask me about topics that you're interested in. I love different ideas to hear from you guys on what's on your mind. And until then, I just want to really, again, thank you, remind you to take good care of yourself, give yourself some grace, and know that you're doing a great job. Thanks for listening, and I will catch you on the next episode of Omaha Mom Talks. Omaha Mom Talks. Real moms, authentic conversations, no filter needed.